Hey guys, so I just wanted to make a video on my Dropshot Pike proof rig. So it's basically just a big strip of fluorocarbon here and a Dropshot hook. So at the very top of the rig, you have your swivel. This one will connect to your main line. Then about 8 inches down here, you have your Dropshot hook, and that's tied on like so, and I'll demonstrate that in a second here. And then from here to the bottom swivel, that's about 5 inches. This is completely up to you however long you want this to be. It could be 2 inches, it could be 10 inches, it could be whatever. But I find that 5 inches is actually pretty good. Most of the water I fish, I'm fishing something off the bottom, maybe 7 or maybe a foot off the bottom. But this is entirely up to you. But for those that don't really know how this works, this is going to go to your drop shot weight, this bottom swivel here. So what you do is you take a piece of mono or fluorocarbon or whatever, but just make it sure it's not that strong. So I'm using 50-pound fluorocarbon for my main rig here. And here, just an example, I tie on maybe like some 8-pound line or whatever. And then I tie that on. And then from here, this would be the bottom. So this would extend the height your lure or your bait is off the bottom. And then from here, you could just take your standard split shot weight, thread it on, and move it to wherever you want to fish. So for instance, you could fish here, adding probably another 3 inches on there. So this would be a total of 8 inches off the bottom. And of course, this is all adjustable. But the reason why I like to leave like maybe 5 inches here is just to clean up the hook area a little bit. Like it's possible that fish care, and I just want less things around the hook and the lure to not distract the fish. So that's kind of why I have this distance. Like again, you're free to do whatever you want with your rig, but it's just my preference. So let's get started here. So these are the materials you're gonna need. First of all, it's the leader material. This is fluorocarbon leader material, 50 pounds. You're going to need 20 inches of this to do what I do, but again, it's up to you entirely how long you want your rig to be. You'll need a drop shot hook. I find the size 1 fits perfectly with the diameter of fluorocarbon I'm using. Feel free to use whatever size hook. Just make sure it fits inside the fluorocarbon that you're using. And some swivels here. Again, it's up to you what kind of swivels you want to use. I have these lying around, so I'm using these. The size 10 is about 30-pound limit as in its break strength. So this will definitely be okay. And the next part is optional. Some knot ends just to tie, just to coat the knots, just to give you some extra security that they're not going to come undone. And that is it. So let's get started. So here are the materials gathered together. So this is about 20 inches of the 50-pound fluorocarbon leader. Again, use whatever size you want. This is a size 1 drop shot hook. Then here, might be hard to see, I have the 2 barrel swivels. They'll be on the main line section and on the weight section of the rig. I put them on here just because it's much easier to tie knots onto. So let's just do the first knot. The first knot's going to be a clinch knot, and I know you all know how to do that, so I'm not going to get into it. For this particular rig, I don't know, in this material, I find maybe 5, maybe 6 loops would be pretty good for a clinch knot. And use whatever you want, whatever knot you feel comfortable using. And an improved clinch knot works great too, so feel free to use that one. I think that's, I don't know, it's probably around 5. Doesn't matter too much. And then loop it through and tighten up the knot. Feel free to lubricate the knot however you want as well. And then cinch it down, just kind of pull it. And then pull the line too. And this, like the pocket knife and the barrel swivel, really gives you the leverage you need to pull it down and tighten that knot. There you go, and that's your first knot done. So after that, what I like to do, and everyone's gonna have kind of a different opinion on how they want to do this, as I like to put the hook in first before I put the other swivel on. mainly because when you have the hook tied in place on the line, it becomes pretty dangerous because these are really sharp hooks. And then this actually gets it out of the way. So just kind of push it to the very end here. So it's at the very end, out of the way. So now we're doing this next hook. And it's just a lot safer in my opinion. And let's tie on this barrel swivel. Again, and this material has a little bit of stretch, so there we go. And now let's take it off the split ring and show you what we have. So I'm going to zoom out a bit here. So this is what we have now. We have the whole line and we have the hook just dangling in the center here. So now is where we determined where we want to place the hook in the rig. Entirely up to you how the length and distance you want from the main line and the weight. But I like to kind of go about, I don't know, 8 inches, doesn't really matter. So how to tie this one is you basically just put the weight where the hook where you want it. The important thing here is the hook needs to face upward. So on my right hand here, this one here is the main line. So it's going to attach to the main line. So I want this hook facing the main line. And then when that's facing there, you just do one loop around here, one loop, and I'll just do the other end. Take this, one loop around, just like that, and hold both sides securely with your left hand here, and then move your hook up. So this part, you want to take this hook and put it around this hole. That's 1. Put it around again. That's 2. And I find 3 is probably fine. You can go more if you want, but I don't think it matters too much. And that's 3. And now we can just kind of pull it all together. So before we cinch it all down, this is what you're going to get. I hope you can see that here. We have the hook where we want it on the rig. And then now we just basically tighten both sides. So you can see it coming together there. Make sure the hook eye is the only thing that we tie. And then lock it down a little more, until you get that hook exactly in the position you want it. You'll have to fiddle around a little bit. And also you can, instead of actually pulling it, you can just push the knot ends in towards the hook to compact it. And now we're just gonna keep pulling it. And there we go. And also, goes without saying, be very careful because the hook is obviously very sharp. And that should do it. And now, this is what we have. We have this side here, which is going to the main line. The hook is facing upward. We have some distance there between the hook and the main line. Entirely up to you what distance you want. And then we have the hook and the bottom here. And this is probably more in the middle, but it doesn't really matter. And that's basically the rig. And the last thing that I like to do is I like to use some knot sense to make sure that these knots here, the clinch knots that I made earlier, are very secure. So I have this UV knot sense. There's tons of brands that make this UV glue, and just dab it on, move it around a little bit. It just makes me feel a little better that this is not going to come apart. And you take your UV flashlight and you just zap it. Yeah, it doesn't take very long. That's probably okay. We'll do the other side here. And that's it. And the final thing to do is just to cut off the tag ends. You could probably leave a couple millimeters on each side. That's there. Let's do this side. And that is it. and that is your Pike proof drop shot rig. Tie a bunch of these up and then you're good to go. What I like to do with these when I'm using them, just to move them around with me, I like to put them into these plastic bags just to keep me safe from the hook. And because this is fluorocarbon, there's going to be some memory in it. You could roll it up into like something like this, but I don't recommend doing that. Like, the straighter you can keep these, the better. So just to give you an example, I think this bag is has like a length of around like 8 inches. And then just kind of throw it in here like this. It just keeps the line a lot straighter. So when you're fishing, you don't really have to straighten this line too much. And of course, when you have the weight actually connected to this rig, it'll straighten the bottom part. But that's kind of it. Close it up. And then your lines stay relatively straight. The weight at the bottom here will help straighten the line when you're actually fishing. But that's kind of it. Hope this tutorial was helpful to you. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comments. Thank you.